I don't think there's anything more than we'd like to do than to let go and let God. I think in our inmost depths, that's all we really want to know how to do. But I found that myself and most of the people I knew had no idea what that meant or how to do it. Let go. How? This is the only process I know. If I knew how to let go, I would have done it a long time ago. Let God. Well, that's not a relationship I fully understand. And I don't really know my role. What's the letting go? What are the bullet points? What's the letting God? What are those bullet points? And I came to find that I was constantly looking for how to navigate this space when my feet were on fire and getting my mind wrestled back from the emotions and trying to engage my higher self. That seemed impossible at times. Sometimes I could get it right, sometimes I couldn't. But I needed a process that would allow me to tap into it when I didn't have to um, fabricate it. I needed to be able to understand the science behind the letting go and the letting God. I found oftentimes when I was supposed to be letting go, I was getting in the way. I was worrying. I was putting up energy fields of resistance. I was getting lost in my distractions and in my numbing devices. Didn't want to deal with the letting go. And then the times when I was supposed to be letting God, I was not knowing what to do. I didn't know. Was I supposed to go out and take action? Was I supposed to work hard? Was I supposed to sit and wait for a miracle to drop in my lap? And that confusion, of course, created conflicts. And conflicts, as we know, creates cross wires. And so this became part of my process. My faith-ish, believing in a power, but not fully knowing how to trust it, and the guilt that comes with the fact that I should know better. I should know how to do this. Well, the truth is we don't, and we're not supposed to know how to. There's no way that this let go and let God space can ever manifest if you haven't developed that relationship where you can feel that divine power flowing through your body, far beyond anything your mind can create. It's the feeling that gets you through it. It's the feeling when you feel like you're in a blanket of that divine presence and it's wrapping you up and giving you those inner indicators that everything's going to be all right. It's that pat on the back. It's that loving parent rocking you to sleep and singing you a lullaby. That doesn't come from any checklist. That doesn't come from doing anything other than your inner process. And then all the stuff in the outside starts to line up. So I think once we start to remove the confusion about the roles we play, we start to get some mastery over this space of letting go and letting God. I found that the conditioning most of us were brought into was to believe our role was to believe in a higher power, try to trust it, to be a good person and try not to make mistakes and you will get rewards, and that you should serve your family and your community, you should work hard, and you should be thankful for what you have. That means God's role is to help you become your true self and take you higher than you know how, and that the love that He has for you will come through. If you're a good person, He'll help you. And if you're not, you will be punished or you will get life lessons when you need them. Somehow, somewhere in there was what many of us were calling a divine relationship. But there were so many aspects that we were not picking apart, and we were not seeing the truth of the plan that really was designed for us to have in terms of a divine partnership. So your role when you enter a divine partnership is completely different. Yes, it is to become your true self, your best self. But it's not to do it through any mechanisms of this physical life. Your role when you're in a divine partnership is to pray, is to speak out in your native tongue, is to connect with the world from which you came. It's to meditate, it's to open up the divine portal and invite the light to come in and create the power source that you are, to activate your power cell that's within you. It's to release fear, any fog, any blockages, any impediments, anything preventing you from seeing, feeling, and radiating your inner light. And it is to seek joy. And through all those processes working properly, joy is a natural outcome of this process. And then you are meant to trust in the process, knowing that you may not always understand it. But with the muscle that is your mind being trained to follow your higher power, the process becomes very navigatable. And the whole thing that you are moving towards is to be able to trust your intuition and your inner guidance. So this can move you in the direction that feels the most right. It helps you to know when to be still. It helps you to know when to take action. And it corrects your steps when sometimes you may have misinterpreted what you thought you heard or felt. And this allows you to be of service to yourself and others, and to be directed towards the path that was the highest calling for your life. Once your role has become clear and the part that you play in the life process, you're able to understand the true role that the higher power is playing in your life. Yes, it is helping you to become your true self, higher than you know how to with your mind, but it is providing a constant stream of unconditional love. It is providing a constant awareness that you are noble, that you are worthy, that you are whole, that you are perfect, that you are a complete, perfect image of the soul light that you are. It is constantly showering you with inner guidance and alignment. It is protecting you from yourself, from your folly and your ignorance. It's giving you emotional healing. It's showering you with awareness and enlightenment, empowerment, and it is directing you to your highest soul path. And its ultimate goal is to help you transcend anything that is preventing you from feeling the warmth of that love, of that protection, of that guidance, of that perfect grace. Once you understand your true role, you're able to disconnect and disengage the parts of you that are trying to solve, fix, and figure out everything. Working hard takes on a different meaning. Working hard means your daily practice. Doing your part means showing up and releasing fear. Being your best and highest self means allowing yourself to take in the inner guidance, alignment, and protection from yourself, to take in the emotional healing, the new awareness, the enlightenment, the empowerment, and to accept that you have a soul path and to move towards it. This divine partnership and understanding your roles is going to be key to everything you do moving forward, and it's going to be key in your ability to wrestle with your fear story. A fear story is any process that tells a story other than what happened. It's our inner process for protecting ourselves from things that we don't want to remember. Some of these happen young, some of these happen on a daily basis. Whatever our process is for numbing the pain of something we don't want to deal with is a fear story. These are the stories that move us into the autopilot space. They run just under the radar of our lives. They become so familiar, so natural. They just slightly flow into everything we do. And sometimes we're not even aware they're there. But they are navigating us into spaces that we are never meant to go. And they're also preventing us from entering spaces that we need to go. Our fear stories, without the proper analysis, without us looking at the deeper meaning behind them, will keep us stuck in illusions of what is really happening in our life. Well, the fear story is the wound, and we have to open it up so that the light can come in and heal. The process that you're about to embrace is going to give you some dialogues for doing that. And this is going to take you directly into what I call the transition space. The transition space is one of the scariest spaces for people as they start to learn the new process, because it is challenging everything that you know about survival, about problem solving, about trusting your inner voice, and about giving a voice to the higher part that wants to speak. It challenges all of your automatic fear responses, and it is asking your body to feel something that it never has and to enjoy it. It's asking you to take something that feels uncomfortable and be okay with it. The transition space is the empty room that happens when you clear out the basement and you get prepared to bring in the new items. But there's a space where it's empty. And this transition space is because the things that need to fill it have not shown up, and the floor that's in the new space has not settled. The foundations to hold the new life are still manifesting. For this space, this feels like being on a raft in the middle of the ocean and having no idea what you're doing, how you got there, and baking in the hot sun, trying to convince yourself it's the light of God. It is a space that is wholly unfamiliar until you bring in your daily practice and you start the fear release and you start to realize that you are always tethered underneath this raft. There's an anchor, that there's a city, an invisible city just beneath you that has all kind of assistance, and that there's a divine realm just beyond the clouds that's ready to swoop down, and that it's necessary for you to be in your own self without distractions of any kind in order for your transformation to happen. This space of what you call feeling alone is actually the cocoon that is preparing you and helping you to grow the wings that you've been trying to get your whole life. The ones that we keep cutting open the cocoon and wanting life to give us something because we're afraid we don't know how to do the work. This is the space where you finally get to be in the cocoon and let that feeling of power that is coming through your daily experience give you the ability to stay the course. This is the transition period, and this is when all of the tools in your toolkit are going to be necessary for you to use. Oftentimes, these energies are running silently in the background of our lives, and they are on autopilot. It has created a groove in the way we do life, and we are so unaware of its effects that it is just gently moving us in directions that we are not aware that we are going into. So when we find ourselves on auto responses, this is where we get a choice point. We have to decide what we're going to do about it, and that is what we are about to do right now. What are you going to decide about the part of you that is on autopilot? Are you ready to go in and move some things around in the basement and to take some of the posters down off the wall from when you were 10 years old and stop believing that they're your reality? Because that's what it's going to take. The places that we are about to go, the autopilot space, is one of the most scary for a lot of people because they don't understand how not to be what they've been. Prayer is going to be different for everyone. It's going to depend on how you've been raised. It's going to depend on how you've processed whether your prayers are answered or not. It's going to depend on your spiritual development and how much energy you can feel and the power that flows through you when you have that interaction. Some of us have great training for it. Some of us are reared and taught how to pray. Some of us have been stumbling through and we're just kind of figuring it out. Some of us aren't really sure if prayer is anything other than just, wishful thinking. We don't know if the things show up because they're coincidence or if they're serendipity or if they're good luck, and we don't always know how to develop that relationship. So when you start to bring fear into your prayer, you bring conflict into something that's meant to help you rise above your confusion. Now, prayer is the one thing that can clear all of that. We talked about that in the energy centers. This spirit space, this prayer space can clear all of your energy centers, all of your energy centers from the top to the bottom, and that's its purpose. So it's really okay if you go in not understanding what it is, because it will eventually start revealing itself to you. Some of the stages of prayer that you might find yourself in, depending on where you are going to be at a surface level, going to be at a heart level, and then they're going to be at a deep level. In the surface levels, you might just be the kind of person who's checking in. Hey, yo, it's me. Just saying hi. I know you're busy. I'm doing pretty good. Do miss my mom, but I'm grateful for all the good stuff in my life. Could use a little help with my rent if you got time. If not, I totally get it. You're busy. This is the type of person who's doing life. They're finding their way through. They're not asking for a lot. They're not expecting a lot. But what they're doing is working, and it's creating stability, and they don't have a lot of drama. However, there might still be a space in them that doesn't completely accept that this is all that there is. But this is their starting point. Another prayer space that we can find ourselves in is what I call the thank you space. These are people who are just naturally wired for joy. These are the half glass half full, optimistic, see the good in everyone, looking to be trusting and trust in life. They're just thankful for everything. They feel connected. They are talking to God all day. They're looking for ways to serve others. They are usually humble, down to earth people, and they just want to be the best person that they can. And this is a powerful space, gratitude. It produces an energy that attracts a lot of serendipity, and it produces a lot of goodwill, and it just helps you to kind of be in the right place at the right time and stumbling on the right people. And this is a very beautiful and manageable space when your focus is on what you have rather than what you don't have. There is a space of surrender that shows up when just checking in and gratitude isn't enough. And oftentimes this is when we get hit with things we don't expect, we don't understand, and we don't want, and we don't know how to deal with it. And this is the space where we are ready to do things differently. This is where we are facing the truth that our way isn't working. We are ready to give up our rackets. We're ready to surrender our fear. And this is the one space where fear is healthy, because you are asking God, please help me heal the parts of me that are resistant to change. Please take these parts of me that don't understand my power and strip me down. Show me who I am. I am open. I am ready. I am willing, and I can do it. And I know if you walk me through, if you give me that feeling in my body that I'm safe, then I'm there. I'm on my knees. This surrender space is the one space where fear is healthy, as I mentioned. And that's because you're about to take action on what you're about to do with the fear. It's a place where you're bringing it to this higher power and you're turning it over. And so surrender prayer is very powerful, and it's usually the beginning space for the transitions that become the turning points in our lives. The next space, which I call the WTF space, is when you're having your annual FU conversation with God, is, okay, I know I said I was ready, but I don't think I am. All the things that you're praying for are starting to manifest, but you didn't expect that that meant you were going to have to give up former versions of yourself in order to get it. You asked for the health, you asked for the right relationship, you asked for the right job. Well, in order for those things to happen, you have to change the way you're doing your eating plan. You have to get out of toxic relationships with your friends and family. You have to quit the job that's killing you so that you can find the one that is the right fit. So this is where we feel like we're in danger. And we are praying with a lot of fear because now we're not sure if we should have asked for help, if we just should have stayed in that first surface level where we thought we were peaceful. This is the space where, like, I wish I didn't know. I wish I didn't know that I was going to fall apart. And we need something. We are in a space of need. We feel like there's something out there that is going to fix something we don't have. So in this space, we are praying with a lot of fear, and this space creates a lot of chemicals. This is the please take the pain from me, please make me feel better, I can't do this anymore, get me out of this, get me through this, away from this, please fix everything, I've screwed everything up, it's all screwed up, I'm all screwed up. Help me, heal me, save me, rescue me. This is the space where the prayer gets hijacked. All of the prayer, of course, I've found in my life that every prayer is answered instantly, especially the ones that are urgent. However, it does just keep you getting through. And all of that energy, that spiritual reservoir, that overflow gets it gets pulled back into your body, just trying to keep you calm, so it's never really able to melt away that fear fog and to open that connection so that you can get some dreams that would calm you, so that you can run into the right people, places, and things. When we keep ourselves in this type of prayer, it can get dangerous. We're always going to be here at some point, or we always have the WTF space. But what happens if we find that we're living here, like I was always living in the rescue me, heal me, save me, fix me, show me how. But the show me how came, and then I didn't want to do it. So just know that this space is where you can lose a lot of traction, because part of you wants to heal, but the part of you doesn't want to give up. Part of you doesn't want to be on the raft, but you want to get to the island. It's a very conflicted space. And so all that conflict just sucks your energy. And until you just get to the space where either you go back to your surrender space in the basement, or you escalate to the next space, which is heal me, recreate me, awaken me. That's where I went. I said, listen, I have been trying it my way for 30 years, praying from this space of, please, God, get me through. Please, God, show me, fix me. And then I finally got to the space that created the movement that I was looking for. But it took practice, it took patience, and it took a lot of hard work. So once you've gone through your surrender and made it through the WTF, or you're in the WTF space and you've stayed there for a couple months or a couple years or a few decades, it's up to you, but you can finally get to the heal me space. Those other two spaces are required in order for you to get to the heal me space. And this is a really powerful space, and your daily practice is intended to get you there. This is the type of daily prayer that takes you into this new experience of yourself and of life, and what it feels like to be wrapped in that incredible divine presence. In this space, in this prayer, it's all about love. It's all about, please give me what I need to erase these negative messages I have about myself. This is a prayer that says, I know you're with me, and I'm ready for you to take me all the way, not where I want to be, but where you think I need to be. You're bringing the surrender into it. You're asking to help me heal these wounded parts. Help heal my inner resistance to change. Let me feel your love in my body so I can stay the course. and be steadfast as things show up and not get in the way. Help me be strong. Help me clear my mind from negativity. Help me to tap into what I can really do when I don't have fear. Help me see the truth of who I really am. So we get to a space where we're praying for the tests. I know that's hard to believe, but when the student has studied, they're not scared of the test. And this level of prayer gives you a feeling in your body that you can do anything if you understand how to use it. You want to go higher. You start to see that life is this one-room schoolhouse, and we are all here in our different stages of learning, and the judgment starts to fall away. When you're praying from the connect me space, the heal me space, the show me who I really am space, this is when you start to get the shifts. And this is when all of that spiritual energy is able to provide the environmental shifts around you to change what starts showing up. It's not getting rerouted to calm your fear. These tools are going to be essential to navigate the lies we've learned to tell ourselves. In the stories we have created, there are some truths and there are some absolute lies. Some of them are based on our inability to give a voice to what we were experiencing, and so we've labeled something incorrectly. Some things we have just been in a state of denial. We're just refusing to accept the truth of something that has happened, and we have relabeled it to soften the blow of how it feels within ourselves. Giving up our lies is a process, and we've just given ourselves permission to do the work. So just know we can have a tendency to want to be fixed rather than want to be healed. It's what society teaches us to do. Take a pill and it'll be done quickly. A diet plan that makes you lose the weight in 30 days when it took you 5 years to gain it. This unreal expectation that instant healing can come if I just do a certain set of steps. Healing is a process. Healing requires you to transform certain aspects so that it can come from the inside out. Fixing only paints a nice picture on a sad face. Healing creates an inner spirit that gives you a state of being that is joyous. It is the lies we tell ourselves about the spaces of our lives that need healing that keep us in the fix me space. Well, if you can give it to me and I don't have to feel any pain, then I'll do it. But if it requires me to open up that basement, to go in and deal with that box that I don't want to deal with, I don't want to remember that box, then I'm not going to be able to agree to the fix me part, to the healing part. The materials you're about to encounter are all about healing. They're all about transforming the way you think about yourself. They're all about transforming the blocks you've put up to prevent yourself from freeing yourself from a basement that is no longer serving you. So get ready that you're going to feel a little bit different, but it is the feeling of liberation that is unfamiliar. The wind is actually flowing through the room for the first time. That's healing. Get used to feeling different. We are about to step into a new way of doing old things. You are beginning to gain tools that are giving you some mastery and some confidence for spaces and situations where previously you may have not have felt equipped. The tools that you're about to receive here, combined with the ones that you've already gone through, are going to give you mastery over the moment. The moment that's unexpected or intense or is beautiful or is meditative or is in many forms of evolution. Your daily practice is going to provide the tools to manage and amplify the power of your moment. Now, this concept moment for many is a little abstract, and I would include myself in that description until I finally understood one thing, thanks to my wonderful soul mentor, Eckhart Tolle. And that is, everything, anything, everywhere can only be happening in the moment. It can be nowhere else. Our attention might be in the past or in the future, but the true power that's flowing into your being, into our field of existence, can only happen right now. You are listening right now. You are feeling, you're processing, you're settling into your beliefs about how it feels inside of you. You have intentions that are being set in every instant. You're making judgments. You're pulling from information. It's all happening right now in this instant. And the ability to manage fear requires an intense awareness about the moment that you are really in. Not a moment filled with your stories about the past or the future. Not a moment clouded by chemicals in a toxic body that prevent you from accessing the information that's trying to get into your consciousness. We are talking about managing and releasing fear so that you can understand the power you have over each moment of your experience. So we're going to jump into the work, which is keeping your energy highways clear and unobstructed from fear so that you can feel the flow coming through your being. That's what this is all about. Clearing out the debris that we've brought in and that has been dumped on us as well, so that we can feel that divine flow coming through. And as the result of the ability to have that feeling, we can access the higher parts of ourselves. And we can bring in that daily dose of feel good, because it is feeling good that changes our lives. It's not doing things, it's how we feel as a result of doing the things. These feelings change our energy, which changes our environment, which changes our mindset, which changes our magnetism, which changes our water level and our chemistry, and changes our universal connection, which changes the things that we attract. So we are here to move our thoughts, our perceptions, our beliefs, our physical body, our behaviors, our experiences, all in the direction of our divine flow. So the science behind this, as we've mentioned, is that fear is an energy. And we bring it in based on our life experiences. If we feel danger, traumatized, in pain, confused, vulnerable, these emotional energies release themselves into our bodies. And until we go back and show them the way out, until we reveal the exit path, the energy release process, the chemicals they produce and the mental pathways that they create can take a deeply destructive and negative role in our lives. So the materials in this module are the tools to manage the mental, physical, and emotional movement that can take place when we are releasing the hold on our old patterns. We've touched on the concept that there are lost parts within all of us, parts that have gotten suppressed or oppressed or repressed as a result of life experiences that we've had and the way we've processed those life experiences. Now, for many of us, we have self-shifting mechanisms and we can kind of work through them, and we have our way of finding our way through. For others, these spaces are big and deep, and they are long stretching, and it requires some tools that we don't always have and a capacity that we don't always know how to access. And this is because there's also a race going on within us with the parts of ourselves that are all vying for our attention. The parts that we've suppressed, repressed, or oppressed are all trying to pretend they're okay, The one that feels alone or unloved is looking for love in all the wrong places. The one that doesn't think it matters is becoming an overachiever. The one that feels ugly is getting obsessed with their looks or plastic surgery. And the one who was violated, traumatized, or abused, now they're lost and they're in a fight for the boundaries in their lives, or they're just disappearing altogether. There are so many ways that our hidden messages will show up in our lives. Screaming, begging, please look deeper. Help me get to the root of why I'm doing what I'm doing. This is a symptom of something that needs to be healed. So you can imagine the havoc it wreaks on our lives when all of these things are vying for our attention, and we're also trying to function in our daily lives. Think about how important it would be if it were us trying to communicate with somebody and we never thought they heard our story. If we never thought they understood what we were trying to say. We've been giving it to them in a million different ways. We've been intimating, we've been overreacting, we've been underreacting, we have been lashing out, we've been withdrawing, and they still don't get that there is pain in our body. These tools are going to get your mind, your body, and your spirit talking again in the moments where it has gotten hijacked or it has shut itself down because of the fear of remembering. What happens when parts are not given a voice is they take our moment and they keep us in the past or in the future, but very rarely allow us to experience the beauty of where we are. So what are your first steps in such a big process? Well, it's just to start feeling empowered because you know you have some tools and that you no longer need to figure this out yourself and look into the abyss of shadows trying to find solutions to your problems in a fog of fear. Your second step is going to know that you're not alone and that no one is untouched by some form of failure or pain or fear. And third is knowing that just because you fall down doesn't mean you're broken, it means you're human. So we're about to dialogue about an inner world that's become invisible to you. It's been shut down by distractions, and it's been put on autopilot by the part of you that wants to isolate itself. And this dialogue is going to give a voice to some things that have been hiding in the basement. We're going to take down some of the posters off the wall that aren't reinforcing things that are keeping you in a positive space. Some of these are going to be a little scary for a minute, sort of like detoxing from something. You're going to feel a moment of uneasiness as the old space, what's familiar, starts to go away. And we're going to clear it out and make space for the new. But there's a transition in there that feels a little unfamiliar. And so some things that might cross your mind as you begin your journey up the stairs is that who you're going to be without your fear is not something you've really experienced. We only know our mechanisms for protecting ourselves, our unconscious mechanisms. So part of you might convince you that you're going to have to learn a whole new way of life. Or you may wonder if you have to get new friends if you change, or you have to be super spiritual to make it work, or are you going to have to redefine your relationships with your family or your co-workers? And what if people don't get me if I'm this different person? So all of that is normal. Just want you to know, I went through all of that. It is normal. And as you begin to release the energies that are fueling those underlying questions, you'll start to get the clarity of how to manage the new and wonderful part of you that shows up. Obviously, I can't know exactly how your experience is going to manifest, but I do know that with each release, you'll feel more confident in trusting the process, and a new energy that's going to support your feelings of how to grow into the new you are going to appear. So the more you release, the more you liberate your silent people that have been suffering.
our goal here in these early steps and these worksheets is to empower the lost parts of you, to give them new positive roles in your life, and to help you walk integrated as a whole person. Because when we're on autopilot, we're not walking as a whole person. We are stepping out of our spiritual space in moments where we need to protect, and we're stepping into it in spaces where we feel safe. So we're not here to change who you are. We're just here to get you to be the real you. And we're not here to kick any part of you out. Just know that. We are not here to get rid of any part of you. They are brilliant, masterful champions, warriors, problem solvers. They have got you where you are. We're not here to call anyone out on their bad behavior. We're just here to gently re-engage the parts of you that need a voice, to bring them love, kindness, patience, comfort, and guidance and understanding. We're here to offer a process where they can tell their story and where you have the tools to listen and offer them a pathway out of this dark and dangerous place where they have learned to feel safe.
There's a good chance in your journey you're going to discover that you have a fear of hoping. I just found that most of us get it when we're children, when we want something and it doesn't show up. And we start labeling things as dangerous when we compare it to the insurmountable disappointment we feel and the amplified way that we feel that when we're young. Now, as we grow into adulthood, we have some wisdom about it being conditioning, but there's parts of us that really never go back and relabel those experiences. So the fear of hoping is something that also interferes with our relationship with our higher self. Because every time something doesn't come through the way we hope it will, then we're starting to have a conflict with whether God is really, just in the punishment vehicle for us, or if we are really in his good graces. So this is also taking an effect in our body. And we think about the role that oxygen plays in everything that we do. We touched on this in our energy centers, that breath and movement reset everything. Well, when we're starting to get afraid of hoping, we start losing our breath, because one of two things happens. When we're disappointed, or when we're shocked that something didn't come out the way. Also, when we have deep fear, we do the same thing. And so when we don't retrain our body back into its natural vibration, oftentimes without our knowing, we're holding those tense spaces within our muscle memory. And so we stop breathing deeply. Part of us strangely is afraid to take in too much good, because we just cannot handle the disappointment and the long fall just before we feel like we splatter on the ground. So we train ourselves out of our creativity. We train ourselves out of dreaming, out of using our imagination, of getting too excited about things. We get pulled into all the society's stuff. Don't keep your head out of the clouds. Keep your feet on the ground. Don't think too big. Nobody's going to give you anything. If it's too good, it probably is. You got to decide if you're ready to start hoping again. And you have to understand that there is a type of hope that is a trap, and it's called untethered hope. Because hope is, as Jim Carrey puts it so beautifully, hope is a beggar. Oh God, I hope God comes through. Oh, I hope he likes me. Oh, I hope I get this job. That is different than faith. That's faith-ish and some game we're playing on ourselves. The type of hope that we're looking for is just a hopeful attitude, optimistic attitude. And so we have to recultivate that within ourselves, or we can lose big chunks of our lives convincing ourselves that we trust in a higher power and we know it's going to come through for us. But deep down inside, we're expecting it to say no. We've convinced ourselves we're hoping for the best, but we're preparing for the worst. So we're back to our ping, aren't we? If our ping is feeling up and thinking up, we're going to be attracting different things than if our ping is down and we're anchoring down. Most of us are anchored based on how we are trained and how we were conditioned. That comes from a lot of different influencing factors. It comes from our family, from our faith traditions, from our cultures, from our life experience, from how much we've traveled, from the neighborhoods we live in. A lot of things color where we anchor our emotions and our thoughts. And as we know, things we practice, we become good at. I find that most of us practice being fearful and having a fear process, and that we squeeze some joy in the cracks of that, and that the joy is so good. It's kind of like after you have the baby. During the labor, you're wondering, what the heck did you do? After it enters the world, you've forgotten all the pain. So our fear process is similar. We find a way to get through. We feel so good once we did. We start convincing ourselves that we're mostly happy. But if our lives aren't showing up in a way that makes us feel fulfilled, if we look back on years and years and really say, gosh, have I really achieved anything that's on my bucket list? Then there's a good chance that our process is anchoring us to a space that isn't giving us any liftoff. So when we're taught to practice doubt and confusion and worry and anxiety, pain, shame, helplessness, disappointment, guilt, despair, hopelessness, stagnation, and many more, these are the grooves that we are creating in our body, right? If we're practicing excitement, confidence, possibilities, courage, enlightenment, optimism, patience, hope, joy, happiness, guidance, inspiration, faith, a good chance that that is the type of life we're going to experience. Well, strangely enough, the same process we have for anchoring down is the exact same process for anchoring up. Whatever becomes the most familiar is exactly the way your body will produce it. So if you examine your fear process, the one that's very familiar to you, and how much we invest in it, and the thoughts we wake up every morning, in the mindless chatter that goes on throughout the day, and the thoughts we have before we go to bed, and the thoughts we have while we're talking to people, in the car, every aspect of our lives, millions and millions of minutes and hours, we are investing to practicing our fear process. And we wonder why it's so hard to find change, why it's so hard to get change to come easily and quickly. So the corridor you're heading down now is learning how to shift your thinking to feel up and think up, because we know how you feel will govern how you think. And this is not just a mental property. You have to support it with healthy foods in your body. You have to support it with healthy environments, and you have to support it with releasing the things that are keeping you anchored down. What happens when we don't address these inner issues, these inner vibrational obstructions, is that we are unknowingly creating a personal mission statement and a gift registry. Even though we want joy and it's our natural state of being, our society has got us all confused about what the truth is. We keep touching on this in different ways. Our news, the media, our cultures, our religions, our relationships, they are all playing a role in defining who we think we are, and the labels that we've digested as our personal truth. And this is having an effect on our life experience. So whether someone placed a label on you or you placed a label on yourself, to try to find true happiness, you've got to revisit those inner stories, those inner scripts, and find out what messages may need to be updated. We need to correct your mission statement. If you're not getting the life you want, it's because your mission statement is, I don't deserve a good life. I'm not worthy. I'm not loved. I'm not good enough. And many other things that are unique to each different soul. So I use the Amazon package analogy,
there's some part of us working behind the scenes that has stolen your emotional credit card and locked themselves in a room, and they are ordering Amazon packages of life experiences that you don't want. And somebody told them that these are the packages you deserve. And so until you update those instructions within yourself, your personal mission statement is going to be, bring me things that make me feel like I don't deserve it. So when you start to make this shift, your mantras start to change from not feeling good enough to feeling worthy of every good thing, to accepting your nobility, to realizing you can learn and grow and that your mind is brilliant, and that this space that you call life is the intersection where your soul and body got together for an adventure. It becomes a new experience once you get your personal statement right, and then your gift registry changes, and then all the packages that start to arrive are things to look forward to, surprises, serendipity, growth in forms that you understand and you embrace. And so you are officially on the path to evolution when you start to make sure that your interpersonal mission statement is broadcasting the correct request to the divine realm, to your subconscious, and to the universe.
The space that might take you off guard is the shutdown space. And it's very likely, it's probable that when you're diving into spaces that are unfamiliar, especially when you've got emotions evolved, that there is going to be some resistance. And in those spaces, you're going to have to be clear that your rackets and your schemes are going to show up. The distraction, the procrastination, the diversions, the obsessions, the addictions, whatever your versions are, your avoidance, they are all going to show up in this space. And this is great because it allows you to see your patterns of shutdown when you don't want to deal with something. This is where you're starting to become aware, and you're starting to build some confidence because now you have some tools for how to manage them when they happen. So what we're learning to do here is we're learning to manage the shift in our emotions, not the outburst that happens after we feel them. We tend to start dissecting our symptoms and looking for answers there. But what we're going to be doing in our worksheets is we're getting to the things that are causing this shift. We're looking at what made me grab that hammer and break the windshield of your car. We have to go to the instigator. And so as you start to move through this space, it's going to take you to some places that are unfamiliar. Putting new grooves in old records takes some internal fortitude, and it requires you to stay in your daily practice, and it requires you to know that there's going to be spaces where you want to give up and convince yourself you don't need any of this, and that's okay. But you'll know you're doing it, and if you choose to do that, that's okay too. Again, I meet you where you are. We have to be ready to heal, and if we're not, it won't work anyway. But what you're going to want to do here is know when you're learning to do old things in new ways, you're going to hit that transition space. And this is where you have to kind of make an internal decision, like with a diet. Even if the scale doesn't show that I'm losing weight, I have to trust the process and know that if I'm doing the right things, the results are going to come eventually. Now, the eventually is scary for a lot of us because we tend to want to be out of the pain now. And we want the program that we're on, that we're sacrificing, and we want this transition to be over now. That's not how this works. Depending on how many layers you have, it's going to take different amounts of times for different issues that you're going through. When you're working through big rocks like abuse, abandonment, feeling unworthy, feeling like you're not good enough, like there isn't enough, these take a little bit of extra time. When we start moving those into a healing place, there are some chemical things that are going to start happening. There are some mental and emotional things that will follow, and it's going to very likely cause parts of you to resist and downright revolt. As you begin to do work on processes that have been running your whole life in complete defense mechanisms that you have set up to keep you safe from remembering things that are painful or dealing with things that were embarrassing or traumatic or made you feel unworthy, unloved, or not good enough, or less than, there are going to definitely be some moments where you feel vulnerable. And it's this vulnerability many times that keeps us afraid of stepping over that line into healing. And we get stuck in the fixed place. Well, if you can make it happen quick, so I don't really have to feel this, I'll do the work. But otherwise, diverting this pain it is much easier than dealing with it. And I submit to you, this is not true. So I want to help you understand when your wires are crossed, when you have emotional, vibrational crisscrossing, you're not thinking clearly. And until you release these core triggers that are anchored to these emotions, you don't have a way of disrupting these signals of confusion that are going to your brain. Over time, these energetic pathways have created grooves, as I've mentioned, like a record, and now they're playing in the background of your life. And until you regroove them and give them new labels and new scripts and new awarenesses, there's no way to fix them. So I'm going to give you some tools to manage these transition spaces. I'm going to help you to build a bucket of love where you can shower all of these parts of yourself with patience and forgiveness and love and understanding. And these are going to be your new roadmap for how to do old things in new ways. It's going to require some commitment, and it's going to require some desire to be better than you are. If you're really fighting to justify and to defend the way you're doing what you're doing, it's a good chance you're not ready for the healing. So just be open to that, and it's okay. You're ready when you're ready.